Imagine dedicating 30 years of your life to something you believe is the supreme path to enlightenment, only to discover that everything changed in a matter of minutes. This is the extraordinary story of a Buddhist monk who had a near-death experience so powerful that it made him question 3 entire decades of spiritual practice. Get ready for a journey that will challenge everything you think you know about spirituality, faith, and the search for the divine. For 30 years, this monk dedicated every moment of his existence to meditation, detachment, and the pursuit of nirvana. He would wait before dawn, spend hours in absolute silence, practiced universal compassion, and rigorously follow Buddhist precepts. His life was a perfect example of spiritual dedication. He had renounced worldly pleasures, embraced simplicity, and cultivated an inner peace that many envied. But destiny had other plans for him. During an unexpected medical complication, the monk experienced cardiac arrest. 4 long minutes, clinically dead. His consciousness was transported to a dimension he had never imagined. What happened in those moments transcended any meditation experience he had ever had. It wasn't the illuminated void that Buddhism promised, but something completely different and revolutionary. What he saw completely challenged his Buddhist cosmology. Instead of the eternal cycle of reincarnation and the final goal of nirvana, which is essentially the extinction of the self, he found himself in a place of unconditional love, divine light, and celestial presence. There was no emptiness, but absolute fullness. There was no extinction of the self, but an infinite expansion of consciousness in communion with the divine. The experience was so real and transformative that it shook the foundations of everything he believed. Imagine the psychological and spiritual dilemma: 30 years of rigorous discipline, studying sacred texts, advanced meditative practices, monastic vows. All of this confronted by an experience of just a few minutes that fundamentally contradicts his foundation of faith. How do you reconcile a lifetime of dedication with a revelation that suggests a completely different path? This inner conflict was more intense than any suffering he had experienced during his spiritual journey. When he returned to life, the monk faced the most difficult decision of his existence. He could ignore the experience, rationalize it as a hallucination caused by lack of oxygen to the brain, and continue his monastic life. Or he could have the courage to recognize that perhaps his spiritual quest needed a completely new direction. The choice he made shocked his entire monastic community and spiritual family. He made the most radical decision possible. He abandoned the monastery, left behind 3 decades of Buddhist practice, and began a completely new journey toward Christianity. It wasn't an impulsive or emotional decision, but the result of deep reflection on the authenticity of his celestial experience. He recognized that he could no longer live a lie, even if that lie was comfortable and socially accepted in his community. What most impresses me about this story is not just the change of religion, but the complete transformation of paradigm. From a spirituality based on personal effort and dissolution of the ego, he moved to a faith grounded in divine grace and unconditional love. From solitary meditation practices, he migrated to a living communion with the divine. The peace he sought through discipline, he found through surrender and trust. This story raises fundamental questions about the nature of spiritual truth. Does genuine mystical experience always confirm our previous beliefs? Or can it lead us to completely unexplored territories? How do we distinguish between mental projections and authentic revelations? And most importantly, do we have enough courage to follow the truth wherever it leads us, even if it means abandoning the investments of a lifetime? What I most admire about this story is the extraordinary courage of this man. In an era where people often change their minds on a whim or social pressure, he made a change based on the deepest spiritual conviction. He chose integrity over convenience, truth over tradition, and the unknown future over the familiar past. This is a powerful lesson for all of us about the importance of remaining open to possibilities for growth and transformation. Today, this former monk has become a living testimony that the authentic spiritual journey has no predetermined destination. His story has inspired thousands of people to question their own assumptions about faith, spirituality, and life purpose. He demonstrated that it is never too late to start over when we discover a deeper truth about our existence and eternal destiny. This story challenges us to examine our own spiritual journey. Are we open to experiences that might contradict our current beliefs? Do we have enough courage to follow the truth wherever it leads us? And most importantly, are we willing To consider that perhaps our current understanding of spiritual reality is just the beginning of something much grander and more transformative. If this story touched your heart and challenged your mind, leave a comment sharing your own spiritual experience or your reflections on this extraordinary journey. Don't forget to like this video if it added value to your life, and subscribe to the channel for more content that explores the depths of human and spiritual experience. Your journey of discovery may just be beginning.